Hello and welcome to the Live Well, Be Well, a wellness show where we explore diverse ways to boost health, well-being and connection. Breathe, thrive and feel alive. My name is Deborah from Be Well with Deborah. I'm a wellness and joy coach and for today your show host. Before I introduce my lovely guest today, I want to share about a really fun and unique workshop happening called the Connection Cure. It's designed to boost your well-being, celebrate the power of connection and joy, and it's to celebrate World Mental Health Day next month. Next month on Saturday the 11th of October, we'll be running a workshop that provides the opportunity to learn how to strengthen your wellness and resilience with an inspiring wellness and mental health talk with Karen O'Sullivan. Here you'll discover simple tools to strengthen your mindset and support your well-being. I'll be there on the day showing you how to laugh your way to less stress and more joy with calming breathwork, playful practices and plenty of giggles with the magic of laughter yoga. We also have another one of our fabulous radio show hosts from Cork Community Radio Station, Natalie McCormick, also known as Nat Mac, who will be playing some fabulous music with a live DJ set. It's open to all genders, all body shapes and fitness levels, and no experience is needed, only a willingness to have fun and connect. If you're interested in attending, the tickets are available to purchase on Eventbrite under the Connection Cure, or if you want to reach out to me directly, you can find me online or on my social medias at Be Well with Deborah. Today's show guest, her name is Aoife Kimber. She is a registered nutritionist and founder of migraine.com, where she specialises in helping people reduce the pain and frequency of migraine and chronic headaches. Her work also addresses the overwhelming symptoms that accompanies migraines such as brain fog, chronic fatigue, dizziness and hormonal imbalances. Welcome to the show, Aoife.
Thanks so much, Deborah. It's a pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. How are you feeling today?
Great.
Lovely. It's really great to have you here. So my first question for you, as somebody working with people to help them to alleviate migraine pain, it's such a powerful and personal experience. I'm really curious, what actually drew you to this line of work?
Right, so I've had migraine all my life. So as a kid, and a lot of kids will have like abdominal migraine, a pain in their tummy. And it'd kind of be like, oh, they're nervy or they have a nervy tummy. But that was for me at the start of it, abdominal migraine. Then when I went through my teens, I would have migraine with aura. And it went along, it wasn't very chronic until I hit, let's say, my 40s. And then, boom, I was getting 15 migraines a month. And I also got a chronic vertigo, right, real dizziness. And at the time, I was living in America. It was a very fast-paced life. I had my own business. I had 3 small children, and my husband was working a lot, and just all the pressure of all of that, and the migraines, and the dizziness was just crazy. And so I tried everything. So I did chiropractors, TMJ specialists, acupuncture, sacrocranial therapy. I mean, you name it. I was trying everything. There was no modality that I didn't try. And of course, medication with your doctors, of course. I think medication is always important when you have migraine. But then I started to look into nutrition, and I started to find out that if I tweaked my diet, if I tweaked my lifestyle, if I kind of adopted some mindfulness, then things started to change, and I actually reduced it by, let's say, 97%. So I went from having 15 migraines a month to today, just about 4 a year, which is a huge transformation. And it's just amazing. And so that led me then to say, okay, I really need to dig into the why. And so I went and then studied and became a nutritionist, a registered nutritionist, so that today I help everybody with migraine from Mind My Migraine.
Fantastic. And I'm curious, so some of our listeners might actually not know the severity or the complexity of migraines. Can you take us back to when you were really suffering with those 15 migraines a month? And can you speak into the effects that it had emotionally, mentally, physically, and even socially, because I can imagine like when you're suffering with migraines, you're not able to be fully present, like, you know, for your loved ones. Can you go back and speak about like how that was for you at the time?
Sure. So even on the Migraine Ireland website, you'll see migraine is more than a headache. And it's true, it's a neurological condition. And say, well, what does neurological condition mean? It means it's part of the nervous system. So 1 in 10 people in Ireland suffer from migraine. And so there are two basic classifications, with aura or without aura. And so with aura, you're going to get things like, you know, the visual disturbances. But with migraine, there's 4 phases: the prodrome, the pre-phase, the headache phase, the kind of the tapering off, the pre-phase, the aura, the headache, and then the tapering off. And each one brings with it its own different symptoms. So you can notice that a few days before, you know, tiredness or yawning, fatigue. If you get an aura, then you will notice visual disturbances and even smell. Like you'll start to smell things a little bit more sharply. You'll notice stimulating lights and noises. They're all overly stimulating for you. And then of course you'll have the headache, which can last for anything for, you know, an hour to 2 or 3 days. And then in the tapering off, you know, when you're post-drome, they call it, it's like a hangover. You feel really exhausted and fatigued, and you kind of like, it's like you've got a bit of brain fog. You're not as sharp as you normally would be. And for me, you know, and for other people with migraine, you just don't know what a day will bring. You can plan like, oh, you're going to go out with your friends and whatever, but a migraine can hit at any time. So you're cancelling things. You're cancelling going out with your family. You're learning pretty quickly, you know, how to try and put some sort of a meal on the table while you go and lie down, what, you know, for your kids. And I remember lying on my desk while, you know, or closing my eyes while trying to type, or head on the desk while listening to meetings, and really just, you know, it's kind of unpredictable. You don't know, oh, was it something I ate yesterday? And you start second guessing yourself, and it just keeps you on edge, and that stress exacerbates it. And one of the killers is you can get a migraine rebound headache. So in my case, I was only allowed to take 4 of my medications, my triptans, a month, because if I took a lot of them, you would get a rebound headache. So you're kind of trying to judge, is this going to be a banger of a migraine? Is this going to be bad? Can I take my medication this time? Can I not? So it's a huge amount of, let's say, unpredictability and helplessness. You just feel so helpless, and you're second guessing what you're doing the whole time. It really is, you know, it's just one of those things. It's like a kind of a cloud hanging over you.
I can imagine. It sounds very debilitating, and unless like you've gone through it yourself, it's very hard for people to genuinely like get it and understand. And you mentioned there that you tried so many different therapies, so many different treatments. What was the light bulb moment where you decided to try a bit of mindfulness, or because you explained, or you mentioned there when you tried things like mindfulness and nutrition and stuff, what was the draw, or what sparked that for you to move towards trying those new avenues?
Yeah. So with migraine, there's no light bulb moment. There's no one solution. I think a lot of people chase that one solution or one pill. Instead, it's kind of additive. Each little thing helps you a little bit more. Acupuncture was huge, and I had a wonderful acupuncturist where I lived, and he would talk to me about diet. So then I started changing my diet, and I realized, you know, gluten wasn't helping me, dairy wasn't helping me, and I did those, and then I'd add acupuncture, and then I'd add mindfulness. And for me, mindfulness, and I'm a huge proponent of mind-body stress reduction. So John Kabat-Zinn was the founder of that MBSR in Massachusetts in America, and he had he's a huge following. It's all over the world. We can do it in Ireland as well. And he also had mind-body stress reduction for migraine, chronic pain and headache. And it was following him, and that was another layer. So kind of it's all like little steps that lead you to your journey. And it is a journey. It is a journey. It's a lifelong journey.
It definitely sounds that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you were in the throes of suffering with your migraines, there was probably a lot of things that you weren't able to do. Is there anything now that you can do now that you couldn't do then that brings you so much joy and you have so much gratitude
Yeah.
around that?
So one of the things that I had started to train to do, I had done teacher training for yoga, and I was going to be a prenatal yoga teacher, and I had signed up and I had my class slot through the community centre, and then boom, along comes my chronic vertigo, where I was wearing a neck collar. I couldn't really even look down or look up. That was one of my vestibular migraine I had, and I just had to give that up. And so I found recently, just in the last few weeks, months, that I've started to kind of dabble in doing yoga again. And that just, I love yoga. It's just amazing.
Gorgeous. Yeah, it's really nice when you can find things that like light up your spirit.
Yeah.
And it just brings so much appreciation then for, especially the times when maybe you couldn't do as much. I know you're a mum. Is it three?
Three kids.
Three lovely. What age are they?
Well, they're older now. They're 22, 20, and just coming up on 18.
Lovely. And you're also a working professional. You have your own practice, and you also work for a beautiful nutritional company or health shop as well. Here is Health. So I can imagine you have a lot on. You are giving a lot of your energy and to other people. So I'm curious, having gone through your experience, how do you now look after your own wellness to keep your stress levels at bay and to keep your migraines at bay?
Yeah, so there's a lot you can do. And with migraine, the people that I work with, we find out that anything can trigger a migraine. And I like the whole threshold theory. It was in a book by David Buckles, Heal Your Headache. And it's like a bucket of water, and you can have that square of dark chocolate and a glass of wine and then some cheese and whatever, which are all triggers. And then could come along a barometric pressure of a storm, and then you could have some stress, and it fills up that bucket with water, and then it flows over. So what I do for myself and the people that I work with, we kind of look at consistency. And the migraine brain is one where the energy that the brain needs and the energy the brain is getting, there's a gap.
Okay.
So we're looking at the brain energy, and we're looking also at consistency. So the migraine brain likes consistency. So the same time you go to sleep, you should be going to sleep and wake up the same every day. Kind of keep your meals pretty consistent. Make sure that you have exercise, and I exercise every day. Now I'm trying to do a couch to 5K, but I know I've got to build up slowly. So I'm like 6 weeks into the couch to 5K, and I'm really proud of myself. I can now run for 10 minutes, which is pretty amazing. I'm really happy. Some people might say, oh my God, that's only 10 minutes after 6 weeks. But with the migraine brain, you need to build up slowly, right? So consistency. It's just eating the right things, having the right supplements. And then of course, everybody's migraine is different. And this is what you find when I start to work with people. We dig back, we go right back to their childhood. And we might find somebody had their tonsils out, or somebody, the appendix, or they had lots of antibiotics, or a lot of, things happened. There was mold, or there was well water, or whatever. And then we start to build up their resilience, looking at how do they detox. I don't detox things very well, chemicals very well in my body. So I know that I have to up my detox. I have to make sure I do sauna, at least once a week, so that I'm sweating it out. I have to get my lymph system going. So there's loads of things you can do, but it's personal to everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to pop for a little break now, and when we come back, I'm excited to dive into some more questions about migraines and helping people. Hello and welcome back to the Live Well Be Well show. My name is Deborah, and today I've been chatting with Aoife Kimber, a beautiful nutritionist, and we've been talking all about migraines. So I'm really curious, Aoife, you've worked with many clients over the years. Are there any clients that really stand out for those that you've worked with, and that you're able to bring them through that transformational process from pain to empowerment?
Yeah. So I guess one or two stand out. And while, obviously can't talk about people, but one or two stand out. I remember working with someone with a hemiplegic migraine where she would be paralyzed on one side of her body. And we worked through, a lot of things. So with what I do is, as I said, I just go back through history, and I'm figuring out all the things that have happened. Like, what have you done that's brought you to that point? And so we did identify some stuff with some well water and some other things that were going on with her. And it just really transformed her. And she was so delighted. I spoke to her, when she had kind of really lowered the migraine. She was going out walking with her son, which she couldn't do beforehand. She wasn't even previously able to walk down her driveway. And, it's just so amazing. When you hear transformation stories, I'm just so delighted. I get a huge buzz from it because I know how debilitating it can be. So I know how great people feel and grateful they are. So there's 4 pillars. So it's diet, it's the food we eat, supplements, exercise, and then mindfulness. And exercise is kind of a tricky one because people who have migraine, they don't want to exercise because sometimes you can get migraine-induced exercise. But in general, what they're showing and the studies show is that some form of exercise daily, consistency, and here we go again with the consistency.
Yes, you're mentioning that quite a bit, consistency.
Yeah, that some form of daily exercise is important, and it could be just walking down to the end of your road or walking down to the, down your path, bringing the dog out, just for a few minutes, and kind of slowly building that up, but keeping it going throughout the winter time, throughout the summertime, the heat, and then the cold. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you mentioned nutrition as well. Can you speak into like a simple shift that somebody could make with their own nutrition if they're suffering with migraines, or what kind of advice would you normally say to people in regards to their nutrition? I know you've mentioned trigger things like chocolate and cheese and probably wine, but is there anything else you can speak into around nutrition for people?
Yeah, so there's hundreds and hundreds of triggers, and the one thing is to keep a migraine diary. I mean, that's really important. And you get to see what are the triggers, but then I have done the migraine diary, and you're looking back and you're like, oh my god, I ate a sausage the other day, what about that? And you're cutting out food, and I think some people that I work with, they tend to cut out too much food, and you begin to then be fearful of eating. So it's keep the diary, but don't become too obsessed. It's hard, for me to say that because I became obsessed as well. You do become very fearful about what you eat, but to just keep the diary, but just to keep an eye on it. And sometimes you might have that square of dark chocolate, or you might have some cheese, and it might spark a migraine, but then the next month it might be different. One of the studies that I really love is from Harvard, and it's called a healthy eating plate, where you have half of your plate is vegetables, right? 1/3 or 1/4 is protein, and 1/4 is a complex carbohydrates. And then we've got healthy oils, and of course water, 1.5 litres if you're female, 2 litres if you're a man, and exercise as well. And so, just to really up your vegetables. And vegetables, I think they're just kind of often forgotten.
They are.
Really forgotten, and it's really difficult, to get your 7, I would say 7 to 10, to get those vegetables in every day. And there's kind of like one guy, Tim Spector, he's online, he said 30 different kinds a week, but now that he's counting nuts and seeds and coffee and herbs and spices. But to try to up your veggies, and it is hard to get them because you have to wash them, you have to prep them, you have to eat them, but just they contain so many polyphenols and phytonutrients, plant nutrients. They contain all the nutrients we need, and the beauty is that your body takes in exactly what you need. If you eat something, so if you take a supplement, you're kind of giving yourself something that you think you need, but if you're eating it through food, your body takes in exactly what it needs, and it balances out what you need. And then, having that healthy protein, and they say we should have about, if you're kind of sedentary, you know, if you don't do a huge amount of exercise, 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight.
I think a lot of people don't eat enough protein. Yeah, would you agree with that? Or like I'm not talking about bodybuilders and those actively in the gym, but from what I've experienced with myself and a lot of I suppose a lot of my female friends, they don't eat enough protein and they're fatigued and they're tired and all of this. Would you ever see that, like with people that are just not eating enough of the good healthy proteins?
Yeah, definitely. The people I work with, so what we do is we try and get protein breakfast. It's important for females, certainly, you know, peri and postmenopause, to get that protein in before 10 a.m. So a nice protein breakfast, whether that's you know, a protein yogurt or, you know, oatmeal or some eggs, to get that protein in the morning. And then to have kind of good quality protein. So lower your carbs, because I know sometimes people will have toast for their breakfast, a big baguette for their lunch, and then pasta for the evening meal. It's to just kind of lower the carbohydrates and up your protein and up your veggies. But don't go too crazy with the protein, because I know there's protein shakes, there's protein milk, there's protein bars. It can, you know, too much then can put a burden on your body. But I would say the big thing is carbohydrates. I would, you know, encourage everybody to have complex carbohydrates. So anything in general, anything brown, and to avoid the white ones, the white bread, the white rice, the white pasta, because that will just, it's a simple carbohydrate, it spikes your sugar, and then boom, your sugar, you get a sugar crash, and then you want to eat more. Whereas a complex, like your whole grain bread and your brown rice and brown pasta and whatever, it breaks down more slowly, and so you feel more satiated. And they show that a protein breakfast with fibre keeps you fuller longer.
More satiated.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I speak from my own experience with healing my own body and an autoimmune disease that I had, and I was very much like trying so many different things like yourself. I felt sometimes I was 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and like on the swings and roundabout, and it was very draining. And I had days where I feel elated because things are working, and days when I feel really down. So with you working with people with migraines, do you see any common mistakes that people tend to try themselves to soothe or ease the migraines that you can point out? And is there any advice in and around that?
So I would say in general, there's no kind of mistakes that people make, because in fairness, they're going on their own personal journey. So you have to try things out, and there's never a mistake. It's just maybe a dead end. You have to kind of retrace your steps and say, okay, that didn't work, let's try something else. And there's all of these, you know, there's a lot of people putting out stuff on social media like the McDonald's diet. I mean, nothing could be farther from the truth. That just does not work, and it's been proven not to work. I would say one of the key things is kind of just de-stressing and trying to put it into perspective, and if as much as you can, not panicking about it, not sending those panic signals to your brain. So kind of just easing into it. It's very, very difficult to do. And then just keeping up hope. It's you know, we can, and joining the community, working with people, having someone to hold your hand, joining that community. Migraine Ireland, I know, has a lovely community, and I actually do webinars with them on nutrition. They have great resources on their website, and you know, joining that community and working with people and just having a little bit of support makes all the difference.
Brilliant, well done. So really just telling them to keep up the hope and get community and connection and support. Yeah, that sounds really, really good. In terms of the workshops then that you teach, I know you've run many different webinars and workshops on detoxing, lifestyle shifts, hormonal health. Would you have 1 or 2 tips that you can share for our listeners on general wellness?
General, so aside from migraine, is it?
Yes.
So I think that the most important thing we can do is to lower our sugar. Sugar is just so pernicious. It's out there, it's highly addictive. I mean, if you see the studies on how addictive sugar it is one of the most addictive substances in the world. So I'm not saying cut out sugar, because we can't cut out sugar, but we need to lower our sugar. So yes, have that square of chocolate, have that bar of chocolate, but in general, try and lower your sugar. And then look at all the different forms. And I know I talk to people every day of the week, and they say, but I don't eat sugar. And then, yes, that's true. But look at the hidden sugars. Look at the back of the label, and also look at carbohydrates. Carbohydrates break down into sugar. Milk breaks down, but milk is different because it has fat, and so the fat helps you, lower, break down that sugar, that glucose and lactose slower. But I would say just take a look at your sugar and try every day to swap it out with something. Just lower the sugar, I would say, would be the biggest thing. And up the veggies. I love veggies. Sometimes they can be boring, but there's so many online sauces and dips that you can make that just make it just so delicious.
Yeah, I think that's key, making it tasty so you enjoy it and then you want to eat it because it tastes good, rather than it being like, I need to eat them because they're healthy, you know?
Yeah.
So if people are listening, and which they are, how can they get in contact with you? Say if they themselves suffer with migraines, or if they have a loved one who suffers with migraines, how can they get in contact with you to learn more about the work that you do and what you offer?
So with you can go to mindmymigraine.com. It's a website, and then I'm on Instagram at mindmymigraine, the same Instagram, and then an email, info@mindmymigraine, or my phone number is 087-228-9995. Just send a text.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, for learning all about the migraines and how people can move through it and find relief from pain again. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It's very good. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure as well. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Until next time, be well, Deborah.